You're on a north-south. This will all play together. You and Turtle. He's in Turtle. You're going to get to that back quadrant, okay? We'll hit the sprawls later, and this will all play out together. I'm going to ask him to leave these pockets open and for you to insert 3 different ways, okay? So you were here. You're on a sprawl, you just hit that sprawl. You are going to drop your knee line. I don't want you to be perfect. I just want you to get into the habit to get to this back quadrant. You're going to drop this knee line behind this shoulder, and as you drop, so you're here, you drop this knee line behind this shoulder. As you're coming back here, right, so you're spinning off this kneecap. This hand, I'm going to get that technical about this right now, but try your best as this hand's coming over that this forearm stay behind the blade of the neck, okay? Because I need to keep this man down. Also have some form of a focus to give pressure on that back hip, because once you make this turn, there's a chance he should get a read on that and he should shoulder roll at this point, okay? So I am here aggressively dropping. I'm covering this hip, I'm giving heavy pressure, I'm turning here. Once I drop and I clear this shoulder, I'm going to take this secondary hand, put it onto his tricep and flip my hips back to this back quadrant. So we are here, okay? I said earlier that you got to keep these pockets open. You don't know what pocket is going to be open for you to get your first insertion in. So we're going to say once I landed here, you're going to throw one hook in, stay tight, throw your second hook in, and now you're on his back. Okay, so you can throw far side hook first. I'm fine with that. I'm fine when you throw an inside hook. I'm also would love for you to do a third one where you're covering. So you just landed back here. And now this is your first opening. I'm going vertical. I'm staying on these grips. Okay, either I'm grabbing the lat or I'm grabbing either clavicle. So I'm throwing my first hook in, dropping, throwing my second hook in, and now I'm looking for his neck. Okay? On the third one, so you had 2 different ones just now. I threw first, I threw second. I threw first, I threw second. So on your third one, I'm going to ask you to keep doing the rotations to get back here. So back again, I drop knee, I spin over on that kneecap, secondary hand is trailing, I grab on, I flip. I see first insertion, second insertion, I'm on his neck, okay? I just did it opposite now. I went first, second. On the other one, I'm going first, second. I don't know what pocket's open, okay? On the third one, when you land in here, I'm going to ask you that he jammed up so tight, but he's not going to jam up on you, okay? He's going to keep it open for you. I'm going to ask you to drop this knee and face it towards this back hip. So as I catch this back hip, I insert my back leg, I pull on this ACL, I capture, and I'm on his back, okay? Obviously, this hand wouldn't be here. I'd be under his neckline, okay? So I'm going to ask you to start doing a drill. You don't have to do both sides, okay? I'm going to ask you, most people have a dominant side because when you hit that sprawl, you're going to be planked out like that. So your first reaction is, I got to get behind him. I got to get behind him, okay? So I'm dropping knee, spinning off that knee, back leg, this hand on top, blades on the back of the neck, secondary hand comes here. As I make this turn around the corner, I grab onto his tricep, flip my hips. I'm going to ask you first insertion, second, and on the third one, to drag and take the back. Okay, guys, let's partner up. Let me explain this in a larger picture here. Whatever I was looking for, whether I hit a sprawl because he shot in, or because somehow I ended up north-south that I wanted to attack, and I don't want him to stand up. So I'm aggressively snapping him down. I'm trying my best to pull this elbow high up, because if I can get this elbow high up and attach it to his ear, now I start cutting off one area of blood supply on one side, and maybe I go into darsing. Maybe I go into a guillotine with a head and arm. I don't know. I'm like trying my best to pull this out, but I'm aggressively pulling and I can't get the arm to go. So I've decided to go behind him, okay? My first stop is going to be taking command of this quadrant here if I decide to go behind him. So I've aggressively pulled this arm out. I'm going to stay up for a second. I'm aggressively pulling and trying. I also don't want him to stand up. So I'm trying to take his base out so he doesn't tripod or he doesn't do a duck under on me. Like, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. okay? So I'm aggressively yanking and pulling and trying to get this connection up here, but none of it's working for me, okay? But I've gotten the arm up somehow, and I say, you know what? I got to get behind him. Or in an IBJJ set, maybe I want to get behind him to score and maybe get 4 points. Or maybe I'm great at rear naked chokes, want to get behind him, okay? So I've aggressively pulled this arm out, and now this kneecap, I see people just dropping it randomly anywhere where there's this massive gap. I want to get behind that knee. I want to get behind that tricep. So there should be no spacing with this kneecap in the back of this tricep. So when you drop this guy, it's because I'm going to stay up for so people can see. I wanted to drop him here so aggressively that I own this quadrant now. And maybe if I've gotten this so aggressive, maybe I can trap this guy. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm trying my best to get behind that tricep so that I own this quadrant up here, and then I can start dominating it, hooking it, taking this arm away, a whole bunch of stuff. So this kneecap is critical that you just not keep this big gap. Because if you start keeping this big gap and he sits back, now he's going to start blading those shields in. Like, I want to be in there. So for some reason, let's say Ethan were to sit back that way, I'm driving to keep penetration so that these shins don't come between us. So don't short yourself on this kneecap, okay? Make sure you're trying your best to get it behind it, but might not be, but I still want to be able to touch it, because if he sits back, I want to be able to fight for position of that bottom quadrant down there. Okay, once that kneecap lands, use it as a pivot point, and this back leg is going to swing for you. So if I'm here and I drop this, we're going to try to do this with speed. Let's say I'm going to stay up for a second. As I'm here, I'm aggressively pulling, and as I drop this kneecap, and I'm here and flipping, okay? I'm dropping and flipping. I'm dropping, and now I'm here. Very quickly, the speed matters on here, because I've given up trying to attack this top quadrant, but for many reasons. Maybe he's just so big and strong that I go, you know what, it's too risky to stay up here. There's too much of a size difference. He's too strong, and I don't feel comfortable fighting from this quadrant. And because of our size disparity, maybe I can't shoulder roll him, and I'm going, I'd rather come back here and start playing with my legs to get insertions and get to that neck. And in a real fight, I want to be back here, because I'll crack that back of the neck, crack the temples, like in a real fight. So I'd rather be here than sit here on this quadrant, because I'd rather be back here. So this kneecap, okay, I'm going to ask you to do that with some speed now. So that knee drops, and if you have to stay up for now, just so you start learning that. But that's one move. So I drop here, and then one quick move. I'm here, I drop, and I'm here. Very quickly. I've told you before, you can see where I'm controlling. I'm here and here. I don't know what the insertion is going to be right now, but I just seen this pocket. So I throw this kneecap in first, okay? And now I'm starting to fight for this, because now with that first one, we don't have to throw this one if you don't feel comfortable. I'm so tight right here, my hands were here, that I can connect this. And now I'm on a quarter Nelson, bringing this over, and that back leg, even though I didn't hook it right now, and you can if you want. You okay, kiddo? Right? Yeah. If you let me get off for a second. No, you're good. Okay. So now you can start to see. I don't want to get. We'll come through here, okay? And we'll bring him over, and we'll get the hook in. But you can see how I want you to think now, because now I got that first hook in. I'm here with my position of my hands. Okay, I got my first hook in. I'm ready to quarter Nelson cut him and throw that bottom hook through, and now I'm going to score my 4 points and be on that neckline. Okay, so I'm going to ask you now, let's do it again. We're still coming back there. I'm going to ask you just to throw one hook in. Okay, just one hook, but this I want with some speed. So I'm going to ask you to do 3 reps with speed to get back here. Okay, and then on the 4th rep, you're getting your hook in. So we're here. Right, we're here, we're dropping, we're spinning with speed. I see an opportunity to throw this guy in. So right away, so my hands were, okay? So right away I'm a quarter Nelson cut. As I'm quarter Nelson cutting and we're going over, have a hyper focus to kick that guy through and bite back on that bottom hip. So let's go over, keep this open so they can see. As I'm quarter Nelson cutting, as we're landing, I'm throwing this hook in, and as we're going over, we're gonna land on this side. There's nothing you can do. If you've done it right, you're going to land on that side. Be aggressive with your kick and then aggressive with your retraction, because I want this hook in there. The bottom hook on the other side I already had, and that's the most critical one. The top one is going to come out, and then as we're going over, I'm going to catch the hip line, and now we're right here on this, I'm looking for the neck again. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to learn to do speed to get back to that back quadrant. I just had a big explanation of why I've decided to go back there. Okay, guys, let's partner up. Let's do it. Thanks, kiddo.